Welcome back to Race Review. This is episode number 13. We are at Phoenix Kart Racing Association in Glendale, racing our VLR today, and starting on pole position for the main event. We've got a very stacked grid lined up behind us, so foot on the brake, foot on the gas. We'll see when we release it. We're good to go. We are green. Start was good. As we're moving over in the inside a little bit, just cover that inside line off a little bit. Likes to usually messes the back of the pack up too, which can be advantageous when you're trying to get a nice little start. But this is 206, and we're running a large track, so there probably won't be any advantage gained, even if the guys behind us make some mistakes. We're already getting pushed down the straightaway, so we're getting a lot of speed here already. We'll see if there's any passes for the lead. We're just taking it nice and easy right now. This should be, it will be a race of attrition, really, because there's a couple of us as that 319 goes for the move of the race, the lead of the race, moves for the lead of the race. And as we saw in the heat, he likes leading the race. He doesn't like being stuck in second, which is fine. It just means that I can sit behind him, observe his strengths and his weaknesses. So let's do that, shall we? So we're coming out of Daytona. You can see he's pretty decent out of there. Obviously, we're closing up to him with the draft here, so that definitely does help us. And we can tell by this, we have a little bit more top speed because we're pushing him. That 55 goes down the inside of us into 8 in the last moment, so he doesn't want to be in third either. He wants to be at the front. So that's cool. Again, it's time to observe and study our rivals so that we can use that information later on in the race. And let's see how we're doing here. So we're coming around 12. He's a slide there, so maybe that might be one of his weaknesses that we can exploit later on. Again, he's running wide out of that corner, so that's also potentially an opportunity for us to capitalize on as we come onto the straightaway. Again, all three of us are hooked up into a nice draft. As he moves to the lead of the race, he really likes being in first. It's funny racing these guys, because some of them are... Maybe a big slide there, that's interesting. Maybe possible he went really low in his pressure, so that's also something we might be looking at later on in the race. As we get pushed into that corner, I wasn't very happy about that. So we can see in this corner here, for example, he's sliding a lot, so he might be really low on pressures or just not driving super clean. But we can kind of see how a lot of sliding in that corner results in us closing up by about half a kart length. Is coming out of here. Well, this kid has a really, really great motor, which definitely does help him because we don't close up on him nearly as much as we do that 319. So that power advantage that he has definitely is helping him on the straightaway, but he tends to not capitalizes it as much maybe through the corners. As you can see, he's sliding, which is hurting him and is good information for us to work with because we can sort of see what he's working with, how he's driving. Again, there's a little bit of slide, so maybe his just rear end just isn't quite as planted as he wants it to be. Whether that be maybe a driving style thing or a setup thing, because there's a balance to be had in setting up any go-kart or racing car, and that is that you can set up your kart to be conducive to your driving style, but that may not be as fast as setting up your kart to be as fast as possible, but maybe you have to work a lot harder to get the most out of it. So for example, if your kart is really stuck and you have a lot of grip in it, it might be easier to drive it and not slide through the corners, but you may not be able to rotate it on entry like I am here, for example, which is giving me a better angle coming out of off-camber and allowing me to close up on him here. Despite his power advantage, I can still pull on him because I'm angled better, I've rotated my kart better on entry, and that does make it a little bit more difficult to drive. It requires more concentration, more thought, more effort to be put in because you don't... It's not as easy because you have to just do more. You have to manage more. But if it's faster, then it's worth it. Again, it's a balance. There's no perfect, well, theoretically there's a perfect sweet spot, but that sweet spot could also change if, let's say, the sun has been going down, right? So this track is getting cooler now. And so as the track cools down by a couple degrees in the session, that can also change the way the setup works and how ripped up you are and how well your kart handles. So those are all things to consider in preparation when you're really trying to get as much as you can out of your race car. As we're coming up to probably about a third of the way through this race right now. Not much to be had. We're just putting the pressure on, keeping it clean, keeping it tight, watching where he's struggling, watching where he's good, building up that bank of information. He's got a lot of speed on him with that motor, and he's not a lot of experience as a racer too, so we'll see where we can get under his skin and find where his weaknesses are. And of course that 319 this whole time, mind you, is also directly behind me, and he's also studying me and this 55, and he's incredibly experienced. That 319 has been racing go-karts for a very, very long time, so as you'll see actually later in the race, that experience really comes out to show, because he actually finished up that race brilliantly. And it just sometimes, being younger doesn't necessarily mean you're more skilled as a driver, because you sometimes miss certain things that you can only learn through experience. But as we go through here, just keeping it tight. It was a good exit again. His motor helps him out, but our angles and the way we set our kart up and point it just means that we still close that half a kart length up when it matters. And so we're definitely stronger than he is through the section of the off-camber in the Daytona. In this corner right here, again, we just close right up to him coming out of that corner. So we're feeling pretty good about this right now. We're running solid, keeping it tight, putting that pressure on constantly, not really trying to go for anything, but also just constantly being in his blind spot. You know, he can hear us behind him, he knows we're there. And so putting that pressure on is really just the key to, sometimes in races like this, you just want to constantly put pressure on, and then the 1 second they least expect it, that's when you go for that move. Because when people are under pressure constantly, sometimes they crack. And it depends on the type of opponent you're facing too, because some opponents are much better with pressure and some aren't. I think we ran over another grasshopper though, because my camera doesn't look great. So we've learned that we need to clean our lens more often, as we did from race review episode number 11, I believe it was, and 10. Clean your GoPro, guys, when you're racing. That really helps. So you'll be forgiven for thinking this is a boring race, because quite frankly, from a perspective of someone watching, it really is. And not every race is exciting as the heat of this weekend was, where we were constantly making passes for the win. This is a lot more strategy and being cool, calm, and collected, and biding your time, and being smart. And unfortunately for the spectators, that's not as exciting, and I totally understand that. For me, I still enjoy it just as much, and I sometimes enjoy these races more because it really is, it's a lot more tense. It's the kind of race that really only is exciting if you really understand it, which I think is why Formula One is always going towards more drama and making weird decisions on race directing, because they think it makes the race more exciting. Is, well, it's because that's what most fans enjoy, and to be able to really get excited about a race like this, you have to understand it. You have to have a lot of knowledge about racing and how everything works, which ultimately most people who don't race themselves just don't really have that knowledge and understanding, because they haven't spent so much time in the industry being a part of it and really getting that full understanding, because it's just a lot that's going on here. As that 319 makes a move for second place now, he knows we're getting towards the end of the race, so he really wants that spot right there. He wants the win. So he's been studying us. He's been quite good in that off-camber. He taps his helmet and says, hey, let's go get first place. And I'm more than happy to oblige because now we're a little bit caught up. We're a little bit further behind that 55. And so that's also my shot at the win. No doubt he was going to make that move. We weren't expecting it this early, to be honest. I wasn't expecting it this early because I thought he was going to wait till maybe a lap or two to go. But he made his move. He picked his time. As we're still, I believe we're at 3 laps to go at this point. So really all we have to do is keep it tight, keep our lines good, not make any mistakes. And what'll happen is that those two are eventually going to battle for the lead. So we just have to stay in close contact. But right there, we kind of made a little bit of a mistake in the off-camber, and that means that we're about a kart length further back, which ultimately loses us the draft there. It's not nearly as strong as it was for the 319 and the 55. We closed that back up in the braking zone here, just being better in 8. But that was ultimately a loss, and this ultimately, you know, we're getting towards the end of the race. That's not good. We want to get caught back up. So we'll see what we can do here. As we're closing that gap back up again. 2 laps to go. Now we're really in the fight. So we just got to keep it tight, not make any mistakes. Let that 319 make his move and hopefully follow him through when we do get to the point of there being a move for the lead. We'll see what we can do. We're not quite close enough as the 55 moves toward the inside to defend. So we're still keeping in that draft, but he's hanging it really tight. So the key for us now is just to get our lines and our exits perfect, and we do that right here. So we really closed up on that 319 coming out of turn 8. He's going to make his move very soon. I can see it coming. There we go. He goes towards the inside. We see him make that move. What are we going to do here? We go for a nice little move down the inside. Yeah, that worked brilliantly. That was very nice. White flag, 1 lap to go. Now we got to make a move on the 319. That's going to be the key here. As he moves towards the inside to defend, what are we going to do here? Nothing quite having towards, so we just got to keep it stuck on the inside to defend from that 55. As a 319 also moves towards the inside to defend from us, just wanted to make sure that we can't really do anything to him, which we'll just see what we have to do. We definitely have to defend from that 55 and try and see if we can make something up on the 319. Easy goes very wide coming out of 8, so can we make some kind of move happen here? The last couple corners, is there anything to be had to it? We will see. The 55 kind of pushes us over there to the edge, and we're not having that. We dip a wheel in the dirt, say, no, I'm taking that position back, thank you very much, and we get that 2nd place. So not quite the ideal win, but still a good race. Very clean, solid racing. And good fun. Very good competitors. And yeah, so if you like Orange as much as I do, don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video and you want to see more of them, let me know. If you want to trash talk my driving, the comment section is always open. I know there's a lot of you who love to do that. It always does crack me up, don't get me wrong. I love every comment that I get. It's always good fun. And until next time, take care.